Good evening, nice people. Moadim l'simcha. It's a joy to see you. I hope that if you have a good half an hour, even 45 minutes to be with us, that you might join me for a few words of tefillah, a bit of prayer on this Chol HaMoed, soggy as it is here in Melbourne, and also to remain for a little bit of Torah learning, the fourth in a succession of shiurim on special Jewish values this Sukkot. I was introduced to this etrog by the cantor earlier this week, and I had to concede that I've never, ever seen an etrog nearly as big as this one. A gift from a friend to the cantor, which he's been kind enough to bring into the shul. Absolutely extraordinary. And it smells wonderful too. Let's join in the singing of Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lektecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'chetavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el b'nei Yisrael v'amarta aleihem v'asulahem tzitzit al kanfei v'gedehem l'dorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf petil techelet V'haya lachem l'tzitzit uritem oto uzachartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo taturu acharei levavechem v'acharei einechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet. Should you be following in a Siddur, please turn with me now to page 16. Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, no ratehilot, o seifelem, malachutecha, ra'u vanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zelianu ve'amaru, Adonai yimloch leolam voed v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugoalo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Give us a place to rest, eternal our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your Sukkat Shalom, your shelter of peace. Over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, Shomer Amo Yisrael La'ad. Blessed are you, Eternal One, Guardian of Israel. We jump forward now in the Siddur to page 76. As we recite the Amidah this evening, we include a section known as Ya'alev Yavo, which is recited during Kol Hamoed Sukkot and Pesach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham v'Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah v'Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai mechayei meitim, ata rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, mazreach hashemesh u'morid hatal. Mechalkel chayim b'chesed, mechayei meitim b'rachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofeh cholim u'matir asurim, u'mekayem emunato lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot u'mi domelach, Melech meinitu mechayehu matzmiach Yeshua, v'nemanata lachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You grace humans with knowledge and teach mortals understanding. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who graces us with knowledge. Baruch atah Adonai harotzeh b'tshuva. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who welcomes repentance. Blessed are you, Eternal One, abounding in forgiveness. Re'eh bonyenu rivar rivenu, ugoalenu mehira l'ma'an shemecha. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who redeems Israel. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who heals the sick. Barech aleinu et hashana hazot v'et kol minei tevuato l'tova. Bless this our year and its abundant harvest for good. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who blesses the years. Baruch atah Adonai poteh ashukim. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who redeems the oppressed. Pour your spirit upon the rulers of all lands, guide them that they may govern justly. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who loves righteousness and justice. Baruch atah Adonai shover resha min haaretz. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose will it is that evil shall vanish from the earth. Al tzadikim v'al chasidim v'al ziknei amcha beit Yisrael v'al geirei hatzedek v'aleinu yehamu na rachamecha Adonai Eloheinu v'tein sachar tov l'chol habotechim b'shimcha be'emet v'simchalkenu imahem leolam. Baruch atah Adonai mishanu miftach l'tzadikim Blessed are you, Eternal One, the staff and the stay of the righteous. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who gives peace to Jerusalem. And blessed are you, Eternal One, who causes salvation to flourish. Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who hearkens to prayer. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamacha Yisrael u'tefilatam b'ahavat tekabel. U'tehila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable to you. On page 92, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, ya'alev yavo v'yizacher zichronenu v'zichron kol amecha beit Yisrael lefanecha, v'tova l'cheinu l'chesed u'l'rachamim, l'chayim u'l'shalom b'yom chag haSukkot hazeh. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, u'fokdenu vo livracha, v'hoshienu vo l'chayim. Our God and God of our ancestors, on this day of Sukkot, be mindful of us and of all your people Israel, for good, for love, for compassion, for life and peace. Remember us for well-being, visit us with blessing, help us to live a fuller life. V'techazena inenu b'shivacha l'tzion b'rachamim, baruch atah Adonai ha'machazir shechinato l'tzion. We acknowledge with thanks that you are our eternal God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimecha, ulecha na'el lehodot. Shalom rav al Yisrael amachat tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon l'chol hashalom, v'tov be'inecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol etu v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'mavarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses your people Israel with peace. O who says shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Well, on this Chol HaMoed, I'm looking out at the synagogue's beautiful sukkah. And like those of you who have built one at home, well, you know, it's soggy and saturated and a little bit sad. But I thought we could perform in spirit the welcome to Ushpizin, the celestial visitors, who we invite each night into the sukkah, saying, Ulu Ishpizin Ilayin Kadishin. Enter holy guests from on high, entered hallowed fathers and mothers, to take your place under the protected cover of the exalted faith of the Holy One. Enter Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, Joseph, and David, and our matriarchs, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, Miriam, Deborah, Esther, and Ruth. Take your place, guests from on high, take your place. It is our precious privilege in carrying out the command to glorify the sacred name of your hallowed unity and your indwelling presence among us and among all Israel. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, v'lo husamanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samach elkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. Today, this community joined at Springvale Botanical Cemetery to lay to rest Israel Forbes, Zichrono Libracha, a gentleman who was part of a community only for a short while and who had no next of kin, no family for whom to say Kaddish. Perhaps you'd like to join me in saying Kaddish for him and for those whose memory remains so close to our hearts. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen, yehesh shemei rabbah mevorach leolam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen, yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen, oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Friends, our shiur, our short study on the subject of Kol Yisrael, Arevin Zelazeh, will begin in just 30 seconds. Welcome, and we are back. I'm going to share my screen. The texts that I need are there displayed. That's very funny. I did the same thing last week. Second. Okay. I trust that you can see the text that is now displayed on the live stream in front of you. Let's begin with the bracha, which concludes with the words La'asok b'divrei Torah, saying Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. I've been so very pleased to be able to share with students throughout the week of Sukkot learnings on the subject of kavod, of respect and honor, shalom bayit, domestic peace, and peace more generally. Last night, B'Tselem Elohim, the notion of God's image, and tonight, Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Bazeh, or Ze Lazeh, communal responsibility. The Jewish principle that all Israel is responsible for one another is first articulated in Masechet Shavuot, in chapter 39, page A, and means in part that each of us must take action and inspire others to create a community for everyone. So let me refer you to a passage from Masechet Rosh Hashanah, and with it we'll begin. She'af al pi shehamitzvot mutalot al kol echad, Harei Kol Yisrael Arevin Ze Lazeh v'chulam keguf echad uche'arev haporea chov chavero. As it says, because even though the commandments are placed upon each individual, all Jews are guarantors of one another, as it says, Kol Yisrael arevin zeh lazeh. And so beautifully, but a single body, and is like a guarantor who repays the debt of one's friend. Even better known is a passage that appears here in our second selection from Pirkei Avot, chapter 2, Mishnah 4. Hu haya omer, aseh ritzono chirtzonecha, kedei sheya'aseh ritzonecha chirtzono. To do God's will as though it were one's own, so that doing God's will, it will be like his. This is the first clause of an extended Mishnah, which goes on to say, Batel ritzoncha mipnei ritzono, ketei sheyivatel ritzon acherim mipnei ritzonecha. Set aside your will in the face of God's will, so that he may set aside the will of others for the sake of your will. And then famously, and the reason why it's included here in our study of the responsibility of one Jew to the other, Al tifrosh min hatzibur. As Hillel said, do not separate yourself from the community, nor trust in yourself until the day of your death. Do not judge your fellow until you have reached that person's place, and do not say something that cannot be understood, trusting that in the end it will be. Say not, when I shall have leisure, I shall study. Perhaps you will not have leisure. And so here it's obvious that this rabbinic chevra has lots and lots of things on their mind. But for our purposes, and again, Hillel enjoins us to be as inclusive as possible and not to separate ourselves from the community either. In section number 3, from Masechet Ta'anit, it says, Tanu Rabbanan, our sages have taught, Bisman sheYisrael shruin b'tza'ar u'feirash echad mehen, ba'in shnei malachei hasharet, shemelavin lo la'adam, u'manichin lo yedeihen al rosho, ve'omrim ploni zeh shepeirash min hatzibur, al yireh b'nechamat tzibur. Saying here in the English, the sages taught in an extraneous Mishnah, a Baraita, when the Jewish people is immersed in distress and one of them separates himself from the community and does not share their suffering, the two ministering angels, the ministering angels being the Malachei Hasharet, may be the very same ones that are sung about on Friday evenings when we join in Lecha Dodi, who accompany a person, come and place their hands on that person's head as though that person were a korban, an offering, and says, this person so-and-so, who has separated himself from the community, let him not see the consolation of the community. So very grave consequences befall the one who separates from the tzibur, from the community. A similar idea is taught in another Baraita. When the community is immersed in suffering, a person may not say, I will go to my home and I will eat and drink and peace be unto you, my soul. And if he does so, the verse says about that person, and behold, sason v'simcha, joy and gladness, slaying oxen and killing sheep, eating flesh and drinking wine. Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we shall die. One is prohibited from enjoying whilst the community suffers. Rather, a person should be distressed together with the community, as we found with Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, that he was distressed together with the community. As it is stated during the war with Amalek, Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat upon it. This from Exodus chapter 17. But didn't Moses have one pillow or one cushion to sit upon? Why was he forced to sit on a rock? Rather, Moses said as follows, since the Jewish people are immersed in suffering, I too will be with them in suffering as much as I am able, although I am not participating in the fighting. The Baraita adds, and anyone who is distressed together with the community will enjoy the zechut, the merit of seeing the consolation of the community. Very interesting. We don't ideally enjoy a life at ease, at leisure, and without care, whilst our fellow Jews are suffering, struggling, distressed, losing their lives. I'm really happy to have discovered a passage which was written by a Rabbi Marina Jurgen, and which is our fifth text tonight, which I think is really illustrative of this idea of arevut, of mutual responsibility, indeed, of generosity towards one another. It is said a very important rule in Judaism tells us to care for other people in the same way we care about ourselves. This is reminiscent of the teaching in Leviticus 19, verse 18, "Ve'ahavta l'ra'echa kamocha," and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. In Hebrew, however, this responsibility we have toward each other is called arevut. It is very important to be kind and generous to everyone, especially people who do not have as much as we have. By fulfilling this mitzvah of arevut, the mitzvah of being responsible for one another, we become like a mishpacha, like a family. We are kadhu, we are together as one. The Rabbi Jurgen goes on to say, it is important to note that in order to reinforce the message, the word kol, kaf lamed, was added to the sentence, Yisrael arevin zelazeh. Although the core message is actually captured by the last four words stating that Jews are responsible for each other, the word kol, or all, emphasizes that the responsibility is that of each and every Jew, not for just its leaders, its machers and mavens, but for every person. This articulation expands the mandate of the imperative, all Jews are responsible for one another. We're not talking about mutual responsibility alone, where I help you because I expect that you will help me someday, but also about, and this is where Rabbi Jurgen adds to our conversation significantly, about joint responsibility, where I help you purely because of the responsibility I feel for you as a member of the collective, if you will, a member of the tribe, and not from any expectation of reciprocity. That is an instinct which we in Jewish circles often call chesed, acts of loving kindness. The principle is articulated to obligate each and every Jew by virtue of being part of Klal Yisrael, the collective. Furthermore, the Hebrew version talks about responsibility in the context of being guarantors, arevim, for each other. Thus, Judaism introduced the burden of responsibility. We are accountable and responsible for one another. The particularistic nature of this commandment is very deep. And then she dissembles a little bit and makes clear it is not telling us that we should help just Jews more than non-Jews. It is telling us that we carry the burden of responsibility to impact the way other Jews act and behave. We don't have the right to impose on people who are not of our religion, but we have the obligation, the chovah, of imposing upon our own people. So if somebody can lend a hand, and arguably should lend a hand in the welfare of the Jewish people, then we are entirely within our rights to say it to them plainly. Kol Yisrael arevin zelazeh. Let's jump down to text number 6, this back from the Chumash, from Deuteronomy chapter 15. And we'll read in the English. If there is a needy person among you, and this is in a discussion of various damages and responsibilities, one of your kin in any of your settlements in the land that your God is giving you, do not harden your heart or shut your hand against your needy kin. Rather, you must open your hand and lend whatever is sufficient to meet the need. Beware lest you harbor even a base thought. The 7th year, the Shemitah, the year of remission, is approaching, so that you are mean and give nothing to your needy kin, who will cry out to God against you, and you will incur guilt. Give readily and have no regrets when you do so, for in return your God will bless you in all your efforts and in all your undertakings. For there will never cease to be needy ones in your land, which is why I command you, open your hand to the poor and needy kin in your land. And so this enlarges our study, some saying that the responsibility is not only to one another, but that it is a feature of tzedakah, of just living, that we provide for those other than ourselves. Vayikra Rabbah, the midrashic commentary on the book of Leviticus, provides us two colorful parables that will you're sure to enjoy. Hezkiah taught, Israel are scattered sheep. Why are Israel likened to a sheep? Just as a sheep, when hurt on its head or on some other body part, all of its body parts feel it. So it is with Amcha, the people of Israel. When one of them sins, everyone feels it. When one person sins, you will be wrathful with the whole community, it says in Sefer Bamidbar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught a different parable, saying, men were on a ship. One of them took a drill and started drilling underneath him. The other said to him, Meshugana, what's wrong with you? What are you sitting and doing? He replied, what do you care? Is this not underneath my area that I'm drilling? They said to him, but the water will rise and flood us all on this ship. And this is as Job said, if indeed I have erred, my error remains with me. But his friends said to him, he adds transgression to his sin. He extends it among us. The men on the ship said, you extend your sins among us. How foolish, how radical, how ridiculous that a person should sit on a boat or a hole beneath his seat and conclude that only he will be affected by it. Kol Yisrael arevin zelazeh. This is a very memorable mashal, a very memorable parable, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. Finally, this from my Jewish learning, and with it we'll conclude. This phrase, Kol Yisrael arevin zelazeh, is the basis of the notion of communal responsibility in halacha in Jewish law. If one Jew sees another Jew at the verge of sinning, that Jew has an obligation to step in and help. Even more so, it implies an obligation on all Jews to ensure that others have their basic needs. That is, here, what does it mean to be responsible? Like what we learned about honoring one's parents, it means to ensure that one's food and clothing and shelter is provided for. Simply by virtue of being a Jew, one is responsible for the well-being of other Jews and vice versa. What a privilege to belong to a people that holds and promotes such a view that strengthens us as a nation and ensures as much as possible the welfare of every one of our number. This text from my Jewish learning reminds me of the very notion of chevruta. In traditional Jewish study, typically, one doesn't study Torah by him or herself. Rather, we study together to ensure that our pencil nib is sharp and that our mind is incisive and that we don't go down a derech, a intellectual or worse, moral path, which is inappropriate. The chaver, the study partner, is not just there to check your aleph bet, but there to ensure that you follow the right derech, the right path in life. This is our mutual responsibility, or as Rabbi Jurgen said, our joint responsibility. I want to wish everyone Moadim L'Simcha, a very joyous Pesach, this festival of Simcha V'Sason, of joy and gladness. And I hope that you may have occasion to join us here at Temple Beth Israel over the course of the Shabbat and over Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah on Sunday evening for Hakafot, and on Sunday morning as we celebrate the conclusion of our reading and resume reading once more from Sefer Breshit. Have a good night, everybody.